What's going on, everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood reviewer, Daniel Rodriguez here, and it's time to review another movie. This time it is the latest movie to star Natalie Dormer, or basically I haven't seen her in any movies, actually. I think she's only been in Game of Thrones that I've seen her, and Hunger Games. But other than that, it stars Natalie Dormer, my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, because I'm leaving her for Daisy Ridley. You know me. Anyway, this movie's directed by Jason Zada, and I have no... I don't think he's directed much before this. I think this is one of his first movies. As well as Taylor Kinney. And this is basically a horror, not really horror, but suspense, thriller, psychological, where, without spoiling much, Natalie Dormer, she has a twin. She has an identical twin, Jess, who went to the forest under Mount Fuji, I believe Fuji, where it's called Suicide Forest, basically. And, you know, she's all worried and everything. There's connection between the twins, and basically she goes to go search for her and get her out. That's basically the plot of the movie. So, anyway, it's my second movie review for 2016. I know most people who have been reviewing this movie have been saying this is the first. Good thing I saw The Revenant to start off the year, so this is my second one of the year. So, man, let's get right to it. I'm just going to give you the pros, give you the cons, tell you what was good, tell you what was bad, and give you my final score, and tell you whether this is a movie worth seeing in theaters, rental, or just skipping out in total. Here it is, guys, my non-spoiler review for The Forest. Alright, first things first, Natalie Dormer is really good in here, guys. She's not the greatest actress, I would say, but she's not the worst. Of course, you know, expecting this movie, it's a January movie, and it does feel like a January horror movie. It feels like just another one of those movies that is just really dead in the water, where they just dump it in January or February type of movie. It doesn't even feel like it would be an October movie. I would say Natalie Dormer is a good part of the movie. She doesn't ruin the movie per se. I think she is. Her character herself, Sarah, really isn't that much of an interesting character. When we meet her, she's kind of just seems like she's kind of a businesswoman. I really don't know what she does as her character, what her job is and all that, really. I really didn't get much sense of that. Nor Jess. They really don't dig deep into the twins, like what they do for a living type of thing. It kind of just has a rushed opening, which I'll get to my cons, but I will say Natalie Dormer, she did have some good scenes in here. When she gets angry, her character, it's so freaking, really intensely angry, and sometimes even breaking down and crying, and just the psychological, her mind breaking down, seeing her in the forest and just hallucinations and everything. She did great in that factor, man. I think Natalie Dormer really made the movie good. Now, I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm saying she made it well worth watching. Plus, she's beautiful, and also she's a good actress. Not great, but she's good, and she's entertaining to see. I really do like the plot that they're going with, where a twin sister needs to go find her her sister inside the forest, the suicide forest. That's a really interesting concept that I'm interested in seeing. And definitely, for sure, the forest itself, they did not actually film in the real suicide forest, because they're not allowed. The government there didn't allow them to actually film. But Natalie Dormer did actually go and visit and everything, and she went off the path just to take some photos and all that. So she did really go inside. You know, she didn't actually see hallucinations and all that stuff. But I mean, it's really interesting how they had to go to another forest, and you know, I really do like the dynamic and the look of the forest, and they have some nice shots of the mountain in the back, man. Some gorgeous shots, some wide shots. Other than that, there are some quick, quick cam motion and some action scenes. Of course, this ain't your typical movie where there's a gun and there's, blood dripping everywhere, gallons, a Tarantino movie. It's nothing like that, of course. It ain't none of that. It's more of just, again, like a psychological thriller. But I will say, again, the forest was really beautiful, as in the forest itself, and seeing the path and them walking and the plants, and there's just a different type of all the different plants and the algae, or whatever you call it, the fungus and all that green stuff and everything on the trees and the wilderness, man. It looks really beautiful. It is actually pretty beautiful forest, besides all the dead, hanging suicide people in there, man. So I will say that was really beautiful for the forest. Like I said, the plot, the way they used the plot really kind of was a messy thing, but I will say that it is an interesting plot for her to go save her sister and everything. But the way that they ended up executing it really didn't work at all. But I will say that the plot was actually a smart plot. And of course, since it's January and it's a horror movie, I guess you could make it as a horror movie, there's going to be some twists. Now, I'm not going to reveal any twists, but I will say some twists work, some twists don't. And I will say that the ending, I don't like the ending, the final shot. I think that final shot really actually just ruined it in a sort of sense where you don't walk into this movie, you don't have to walk in and take this serious. You don't need to walk in and be like, well, this is The Revenant, haha, with Leonardo, like this ain't The Revenant obviously, but you don't have to walk in and say this is going to be an Oscar contender. It's not. It's a January regular type of movie. It's not, but it's not the worst movie ever, man. I won't say that. I mean, I will say that it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It was actually some parts entertaining. But the ending, I like the meaning of it, the meaning of what happens to the characters. But I don't like the final shot. I think that was a really cheesy way to end the movie, and it kind of slaps the audience in a sort of way where you just spend an hour and a half and it kind of just slaps you like, well, thanks for paying the money for us kids. But I will say that the ending and the meaning of the characters, what happens to each one, even though it's not really explained, which that is a con, that some stuff is a plot hole, but the ending and the meaning of what happens to one certain character really is an interesting twist, and I like how they go sort of a dark route. On to a few bad things in this movie. It did have a rushed opening. The first 5 minutes were not enjoyable. They were not likable. The editing was sloppy. I mean, seriously, they went back and forth. Like, she wakes up literally a minute and then she goes to Japan to go find her sister. It just literally rushes in. We don't get to see her daily life. We don't get to see Jess's daily life. It kind of just rushes in where, oh, your sister, she wandered into the suicide forest. And then it just kind of rushes on from there. There is no real breathing time. It just kind of, like, you know, people complain like, oh, well, it was so slow. You know, it really felt like there was more to the beginning sort of thing where I would be fine if there was a 10-minute, you know, sort of slow wait to get to the forest instead of it just kind of rushing right away. Like I said, I wouldn't really count this as a horror movie. It really wasn't scary. There are a lot of jump scares. I mean, there are other movies that have many more jump scares, but there's more than 5 jump scares in here. There's a jump scare in the beginning, and this ain't really spoiling much. She's in her cab in Tokyo. She's in the cab. This is the beginning, and she's just in the back seat of the taxi, and there's this man who just goes to the window and wah! And I was like, that's the first jump scare you're going to open with a movie. You're going to open with just a random guy jumping to the window, acting like, ha ha, and he laughs at the girl. And I literally laughed after that scene ended because I was like, they really did this jump scare. Did they really? Who wrote that in there? Whose idea was that? Because that was just a stupid way to do a jump scare for one thing. Because it didn't even get me. I just thought it was just so stupid that they would even go through whoever's idea was that. Like I said, the ending of the movie, the meaning was really smart for me, but the ending, the final shot was so cheesy where it ruined the movie, where again it just slapped the audience back, you know, right there at the audience. There's a character named Peter, who I guess is Sarah's boyfriend or husband, something like that. He was a wasted character. He wasn't an interesting character. He kind of just shows up out of nowhere, and he seems like a douche, honestly. He seems like kind of a douchey person where I don't know why Natalie Dormer would even be with him type of thing. But I think that was just, for one thing, I didn't really care for that character. I wish she was wandering into the forest. That would be more of an interesting thing than seeing him die. But again, Peter, he's not even a big part of the story. He's just there, and there's just no explanation why. It's just kind of stupid with that character. There are a few twists that are so stupid in here, man. I mean, there are some stupid decisions by the characters. There's a character named Aiden, played by Taylor Kinney. His character, I don't hate Taylor Kinney or the actor, man. I really do. I don't hate him in this movie, but the character Aiden himself, it just is not that well good of writing. Whoever wrote the character just really didn't. It's like he wants him to be a funny guy, and then sort of like a cliched guy, and then you don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, and then it just kind of leads on to this kind of not rapey vibe, but I don't know what to say. All I'm saying is that Aiden just wasn't that well thought out character, and I understand where they want you to think if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but at the end of the movie you kind of walk out like, well, that Aiden character, he was just there kind of just to be there, really. He was really not needed for the film. When you think about it after walking out, you're kind of like, well, that guy, I mean, he was okay, but the actor's okay, but the character himself was just kind of, he's there, you know. There's the writing. There's just so much put into that guy where he just, wait, was he good? Is he believable? Is he just bullshitting? You never really got that full thing whether or not he was being real or not real. Walking out of this movie, there are multiple plot holes in here that I could point out without, I can't say it because I'd be spoiling the movie. And also there are some stupid, just cheesy scenes like that ending shot and other cheesy little things in here. Of course, it's a January movie. There's a part where someone falls through a hole and they're like, no, like a big, like, cheesy no, and I was like, oh my god, like, really? It made me want to laugh. There are some laughable things where it's supposed to be so, like, oh my god, there was just a jump scare in a hallway, and it wasn't even scary. It was like, and I was like, really? Literally, some of the scenes that are supposed to be scary, I feel like I've seen them before, like in Insidious and in other horror movies, man. I love Insidious, baby. I think it's a very good movie. The whole trilogy, man, honestly, very good, very good. Actually, I haven't seen the first Insidious, but Insidious 2 and 3, very, very scary for me, man. The first time I saw them in theaters. But other than that, man, those were like really cool, true horror movies. But this, they just copy from other sort of ghost stories. There's a few shaky cam scenes in this movie, guys, and it's kind of annoying that, like, the running scenes are so shaky cam-ish, and even that opening shot was just kind of really like, I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those shaky cam. Gladly, or happily, it wasn't that much of a shaky cam movie. The camera was pretty still the whole time, but it was just going back and forth of dialogue, sort of, where the camera was kind of annoying, where it was kind of just so obvious at times, like, boom, like, oh, well, Natalie Dormer's playing the twin sister, and she's both playing like two people, so don't show them the same time. That's obviously a stunt double's arm on the left side, so just go back to her, and then on the other day she probably played Jess, and then she played Sarah. It was just so, like, they don't show them in the same room type of thing, where they don't show them on the same screen. They just go back to Natalie Dormer, Sarah, and then they go back to Jess in the same room, where they just show them both, like, have that, like, green screen type of special effect with her in the room. But either way, this was an estimated $10 million budget, so I'm assuming they're going to get all the money back, because I think it's already made like $5 million. So they're going to get their money back either way. But I will say that there are, the shaky cam, it was kind of annoying. And then there's a few WTF moments in there where literally, like, did they really do that? What the fuck type of like, really, those type of moments where you're like, what were you thinking type of moments. Other than that, man, this movie, I honestly could say it was okay. I know I said a lot of cons more than pros, but it was okay. It is still a watchable movie. It's not a good movie, but it's not a bad movie. Like, there's been other horrible movies than this, trust me. So I will say that I was entertained at parts. Yes, there's some stupid things, but seeing Natalie Dormer in here, and actually her being in a horror movie, and plus the Suicide Forest is so interesting in the mythology behind it, so I am going to give The Forest a 6.4 out of a 10. Is it worth watching? Yes. In theaters? No. Rental, guys. That's all I'm saying. The boom rental. That's the bottom line. What was that? Boom. I have no idea. Rental for sure. Redbox, or even if you could just find it on the computer one day. That's the route to go, guys. Not theaters. But either way, it's going to make its money back in its theater run. $10 million. Pretty good for $10 million, man. That's a good way. Horror movies are so cheap these days that they make it, like, back. I mean, there's some horror movies, like The Gift was like $6 million to make, and they got over like $15, $20 million. That was awesome, man. I got like $20 million back or something. I'm really glad about that. The Gift was a good sort of thriller horror movie. The next horror movie to come out in January is The Boy with Lauren Cohan. Will Lauren Cohan and The Boy make it past a 6.4 out of a 10? We will see, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I just reviewed The Revenant. Check that out. Other reviews coming later on, maybe right along to the Benghazi 13 Hours movie. Who knows, man? Much more to come this January and the rest of 2016. Thanks again. If you really enjoyed the review, you want to support the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll be seeing you later. Bye-bye.